She was the unseen architect behind the most advanced cybersecurity system the world had ever known. But when her brilliance was stolen, erased, and silenced by those hungry for power, Olivia Mitchell didn't just disappear, she became a ghost. Now, from the shadows, she's rewriting the rules of the game, wielding a digital weapon no one saw coming. This is the story of a genius betrayed, a corporate empire shattered, and a ghost who refuses to be forgotten. Olivia Mitchell had never craved the spotlight. To her, true genius was quiet. It lived in the soft glow of computer screens, in the fluid logic of algorithms, in the silent hum of servers working tirelessly behind locked doors. At 34, Olivia was the lead software architect at Signia Dynamics, a company rapidly ascending the ranks of the tech world. Specializing in AI-powered cybersecurity, Signia was poised to revolutionize digital defense. Olivia was at the heart of that revolution, having poured years of her life into creating their most advanced system yet, Sentinel V7. The path that led Olivia here had not been easy. A child prodigy in computer science, she had grown up in a small town with limited resources but limitless curiosity. Where others saw obstacles, Olivia saw puzzles waiting to be solved. Her quiet perseverance earned her scholarships and a place at one of the country's top universities. While her peers chased flashy projects and public accolades, Olivia dove deep into the nuts and bolts of programming, architecture, and cybersecurity. She didn't want to be famous. She wanted to build something that mattered. At Signia, she found a rare sanctuary. The company's mission aligned with her values: to protect users from the unseen dangers lurking in the digital shadows. For years, Olivia had quietly refined Sentinel V7, layering it with adaptive algorithms capable of learning and anticipating attacks, building cognitive defense mechanisms that could mimic human intuition. Her work was a masterpiece of innovation, a complex symphony of code that could evolve with the threat landscape. But the tech world was not just about logic and code. It was about power, and power could corrupt even the purest intentions. Signia's CEO, Damian Cross, was a man who knew the value of appearances. Charismatic and ruthless, Damian had guided the company through aggressive expansions, acquisitions, and a growing media presence. Yet underneath the polished image, there was always a whisper of cutthroat ambition. Then came Mara Lindell. Mara was everything Olivia was not. Flashy, outgoing, magnetic, with platinum blonde hair and an arsenal of designer suits, Mara had been hired as the new VP of Innovation. Her reputation preceded her, a master of public relations and networking, with a track record of dazzling presentations, but a murky history when it came to technical expertise. Mara's arrival sent ripples through Signia's corridors. At first, Olivia tried to ignore Mara's overtures. She preferred to let her work speak for itself, but Mara was persistent. During their first meeting, Mara smiled brightly. "Olivia, your talent is undeniable, but you need more than code. You need a stage. I can give you that. Together, we can make Sentinel a household name." Olivia had smiled politely but declined. She wasn't interested in playing the corporate game of politics and showmanship. Her reward was in creating solutions, elegant, effective, invisible. Yet Mara didn't back down. Over the next few months, she maneuvered herself closer to Olivia's projects, inserting herself into meetings, pushing for visibility. Olivia's instincts warned her of trouble, but she kept her head down, focusing on perfecting Sentinel. That would be her biggest mistake. Olivia sat at her desk one rainy Tuesday morning, the faint patter of droplets against her office window, barely noticeable beneath the constant low hum of the servers. Her fingers danced over the keyboard, eyes fixed on the cascade of code lines scrolling down her monitor. She was fine-tuning Sentinel V7's threat response algorithms, the very heart of the system. This was her sanctuary: code, logic, and a challenge that no human interference could dilute. Her mind was a fortress built of precision and reason, and for years it had guarded her from the messy politics of the corporate world. But that fortress was about to be breached. Across the room, Mara Lindell's high heels clicked assertively down the hallway, each step an audible reminder of the intrusion. Olivia's stomach tightened as she recalled their last encounter. "Olivia," Mara had said, her voice honeyed but insistent, "the board needs more than brilliance. They need a story, a face. You're brilliant, yes, but the world isn't. Ready for a quiet genius. Let me take Sentinel's story to the world. Olivia's reply had been measured. The code should speak for itself. It's not about the story. Mara had smiled. Too smooth, too knowing. That's where you're wrong. Weeks passed, and Mara's presence at meetings increased. She peppered questions during tech reviews, interrupted with buzzwords like disruption, synergy, and vision. Olivia's quiet retorts were brushed aside. Slowly, she noticed subtle shifts. Her name was missing from presentations, emails were rerouted, and decisions were made without her consultation. Then came the day that shattered everything. The Signia boardroom was buzzing with anticipation. Investors, executives, and board members gathered for the Sentinel V7 launch presentation, the culmination of years of Olivia's work. The stakes were astronomical. Contracts and reputations hinged on this moment. Olivia arrived early, dressed in her usual understated attire, clutching her laptop with the latest simulation results. But as she approached the conference room, a chill ran down her spine. The agenda taped to the door bore a glaring omission. Her name was absent. Inside, Mara stood poised at the head of the table, projecting confidence with every word. Damien sat beside her, expression unreadable. When Olivia finally confronted Damien after the presentation, the words cut deeper than any code error. "You're brilliant, Olivia," he said smoothly, eyes cold, "but you lack executive polish." Mara knows how to present a vision, something this board responds to. Olivia's voice trembled. "That vision was built on my work." Damien shrugged. "It's business." As Mara accepted applause for presenting Sentinel as her creation, Olivia realized she had been erased. No acknowledgement, no credit. Just a quiet, cold dismissal. That evening, an email from HR sealed her fate. Due to departmental restructuring, your position has been terminated effective immediately. Her building access was revoked. Her files were locked. Her digital footprint scrubbed. Olivia Mitchell, the genius behind Sentinel V7, was gone. But beneath the surface, a fire was igniting. Olivia sat in her dimly lit apartment, the glow from her laptop screen illuminating her tense face. The termination email blinked open in her inbox. Cold, impersonal, and utterly final. She stared at it for minutes, as if hoping the words would rearrange themselves, transform into an offer of understanding or a plea for dialogue. But there was nothing. Her fingers trembled, not from anger but exhaustion. Years of dedication, endless nights debugging, and relentless problem-solving, all reduced to a sterile corporate memo. She shut the laptop, silence filling the room. Outside, rain streaked down the window pane, blurring the city lights into watery halos. The world moved on. Mara had already begun her ascent, riding the waves of polished speeches and staged photo ops. The media loved the new face of Signia, the confident VP with a sharp smile and sharper ambitions. But Olivia's world had shrunk to this cramped apartment, a temporary refuge now without a purpose. She traced her fingers over a faded photograph. On her desk, her late grandfather standing proudly beside an old mountain cabin. A place far from boardrooms and power games, where life moved at the rhythm of the seasons. That cabin was her sanctuary, her escape plan. The next morning, Olivia packed a small bag with essentials, a change of clothes, her laptop, external, hard drives filled with encrypted backups, and a stack of technical journals. She left no forwarding address, no explanations. The Cascade Mountains awaited, and with them, the chance to reclaim control. The drive north was long and contemplative. As she wound up the forested highways, the digital world she had left behind faded with every mile. Cell service became patchy, then vanished entirely. The air grew crisp, scented with pine and earth. She arrived at the cabin just before sunset. The rustic wooden structure was weathered but sturdy, surrounded by towering firs and whispering leaves. Inside, dust motes danced in shafts of fading light, and the quiet was profound. Olivia flipped the circuit breaker and watched as the small solar-powered generator hummed to life. She set up her satellite internet dish, hooked her external drives to a rugged laptop, and booted up a compact server cluster she had shipped ahead. This was no longer just about Sentinel V7. It was about Phantom, her vision for a cybersecurity system that learned, adapted, and defended autonomously. For weeks, Olivia submerged herself in code and simulations. Phantom's architecture was radically different, decentralized, with machine learning nodes spread across anonymous networks. Its algorithms could detect threats by intuition rather than rules, mimicking human instincts but operating at superhuman speed. She documented every line meticulously, knowing this was her legacy, even if the world would not yet see it. Yet, even in isolation, Olivia stayed tethered to the outside world. She monitored Senia's public releases, news reports, and social media buzz. The cracks in Sentinel's facade began to show. Clients complained of breaches. Mara's confident veneer started to chip beneath the weight of technical failures. Confidential tip arrived one evening, encrypted and anonymous. It was a whistleblower inside Signia, someone who had witnessed Mara's decisions firsthand. Attached was a trove of documents, emails, meeting notes, and internal code reviews, revealing the shortcuts Mara had forced. Key safety protocols were stripped to meet deadlines. Quality controls were ignored. The system was compromised, intentionally. Olivia's eyes burned from lack of sleep as she read through the files. This was the smoking gun she needed. No longer the silent victim, she began to plan her return, not to reclaim stolen credit, but to expose the rot and build a better future. Phantom would not just be code. It would be a digital ghost haunting the halls of corporate greed. The cabin in the Cascade Mountains became Olivia Mitchell's fortress and laboratory, a place where technology, determination, and retribution intertwined in quiet synergy. Days blurred into nights. Outside, the wild forest thrived untouched, but inside, Olivia's mind raced to outpace the world that had betrayed her. The initial weeks were grueling. Phantom's architecture required groundbreaking algorithms, code, that could not only detect but also anticipate cyber threats by learning their subtle fingerprints. It needed to be decentralized, spreading its neural clusters like roots in the soil of the internet, impossible to kill with a single strike. Olivia worked tirelessly, often speaking to herself as if the code could hear her frustrations and hopes. The world needs a guardian that can think ahead, smarter than any hacker or malware. The night air was thick with the hum of servers, satellite signals pinging through space, and the soft tapping of keys. Olivia's hands ached, her eyes stung, but she pressed on. In parallel, Olivia began monitoring Signia dynamics from afar. Their public facade was flawless, polished press releases, glowing testimonials, and Mara Lindell's growing media presence. She was the darling of the tech world, invited to speak at conferences and featured in magazines. But beneath the surface, cracks deepened. Internal sources, whispers she tracked through anonymous forums, and occasional leaks reported system failures, frustrated engineers, and escalating client dissatisfaction. Sentinel V7's promise was unraveling. Clients complained of undetected breaches, data losses, and slow response times. Signia's stock wavered, but the leadership masked it with spin and distractions. One rainy evening, a secure, encrypted message arrived on Olivia's burner email account. Subject: You were right. The attachment was a trove of damning internal documents, emails from Mara ordering code simplifications, meeting minutes where engineers expressed concerns, and error logs revealing patched-up vulnerabilities. Olivia felt a cold surge of vindication. Mara hadn't just stolen credit. She had gambled with security protocols that protected millions of users. This was no longer a personal betrayal. It was corporate malfeasance. With renewed purpose, Olivia accelerated Phantom's deployment. Unlike Sentinel, Phantom was not confined to one system or network. Its decentralized nodes quietly embedded themselves into vulnerable points across the cyber landscape: government honeypots, academic research labs, open-source communities, even defunct servers that still processed sensitive data. Phantom learned from everything it touched. It adapted. It healed. Threats that would have slipped past traditional defenses vanished before they could propagate. The tech world began to notice. Unexplained security breaches halted. Unknown signatures appeared on analyst dashboards, sophisticated threat neutralizers working anonymously, often tracing malware back to its source in record time. Speculation ran rampant. Was this a new AI tool? A benevolent hacker group? Government? Cyber operations? Olivia stayed in the shadows. Meanwhile, Signia scrambled. As Sentinel's flaws became impossible to hide, Mara's confident speeches turned defensive. Internal tension exploded. Teams pushed back against executive demands, whistleblowers emerged, and investors demanded answers. Yet no one suspected the quiet genius behind Phantom was the very architect they had cast aside. Olivia's strategic mind planned a digital coup. The moment was ripe. She would reveal the truth about Sentinel, expose Mara's reckless shortcuts, and reclaim her rightful place, not with arrogance, but with undeniable evidence. Her first move was surgical. She intercepted a confidential Signia board meeting conducted over a supposedly secure virtual channel. Using Phantom's infiltration capabilities, Olivia gained control over the digital feed. Screens flickered. Then, in unison, the meeting attendees watched as internal documents streamed across their displays. Email threads where Mara mocked the engineering team, logs showing Sentinel's critical flaws, and video recordings of board discussions where the truth was buried beneath corporate doublespeak. Shock rippled through the virtual room. The fallout was swift. A major Signia client announced their contract termination, publicly citing gross negligence and breach of trust. Industry insiders buzzed about an impending scandal. Anonymous investigative journalists received packages containing the full Sentinel development history. Every blueprint, commit log, and time-stamped video proof of Olivia's original authorship, Mara, was summoned to testify before a congressional committee on cybersecurity standards. Under intense questioning, her composed facade cracked. She evaded technical questions and contradicted earlier statements, while the evidence against her piled up. In a final act, Olivia released Phantom to the public as open-source software. "I built this for the world, not for corporate greed." Her encrypted message read, "Universities integrated Phantom into their curricula. Nonprofits adopted it to safeguard vulnerable populations. The tech community embraced it as a beacon of ethical innovation." Olivia watched silently, a ghost in the system she had birthed. Months later, a new startup quietly registered in Oregon bore her name, Olivia Mitchell. Its mission: to create adaptive, ethical technology that empowers people rather than exploits them. Damian Cross was ousted. Signia Dynamics' stock plummeted. Mara Lindell's reputation lay in ruins. And Olivia? She became a legend. Olivia Mitchell sat alone in the dim glow of her cabin's command center, the soft hum of servers her only company. The world outside continued in an oblivious rush, but inside, the digital revolution she had ignited was shaking the foundations of corporate power and corruption. Her first act of rebellion had been devastating to Signia Dynamics. The board meeting hack, the whistleblower's revelations, and the mass leak of internal files had set off a chain reaction that no amount of spin could repair. But Olivia knew this was just the beginning. The media frenzy that followed was unlike anything she had anticipated. Technology blogs, national news, and social media exploded with stories about Sentinel's catastrophic failures and Mara Lindell's deception. But what truly changed the game was Olivia's strategic choice to remain anonymous. While Mara scrambled to salvage her reputation, issuing carefully worded statements and engaging high-profile PR firms, Olivia operated from the shadows, invisible but omnipresent. Her greatest weapon was Phantom, the AI she had crafted to learn, evolve, and protect. Government agencies quietly reached out to her through secure channels, desperate to understand how Phantom was neutralizing threats that even their systems failed to catch. Academic institutions invited her to lecture, though always under strict confidentiality agreements. In private circles, she became a myth, the ghost genius who had taken down one of the tech industry's brightest stars, not with lawsuits or boardroom battles, but with relentless innovation and truth. One evening, as Olivia reviewed the latest network activity, a familiar alert caught her eye. Sentinel V7's network was being shut down. Signia was pulling the plug in response to mounting losses and client withdrawals. The company that had once been her world was crumbling, But Olivia didn't gloat. She felt a quiet resolve. Her fight was never just about revenge. It was about justice. Then came the final confrontation. The congressional hearing had captivated the nation. Mara Lindell, flanked by high-powered lawyers, faced a panel of lawmakers demanding answers about cybersecurity failures and corporate ethics. As the hearing unfolded, evidence that Olivia had anonymously provided was laid bare. Emails, technical reports, whistleblower testimonies, and detailed timelines proving Mara's reckless shortcuts and outright plagiarism. Mara's polished mask cracked. Her evasions, denials, and blame-shifting failed against the mountain of proof. The panel voted unanimously to launch an official investigation into Signia Dynamics practices. In the wake of the hearing, Mara vanished from public life. The tech community shunned her, and offers dried up. Meanwhile, Olivia emerged, not as the figurehead of a corporate empire, but as the founder of a new startup dedicated to ethical technology. Her company's mission was clear: build tools that empower users, protect privacy, and resist exploitation. Phantom, now open source and freely accessible, was integrated into cybersecurity curricula worldwide. Nonprofits working in vulnerable regions used it to protect data and safeguard activists. Startups modeled their ethics and innovation on Olivia's vision. But Olivia's greatest triumph wasn't just in the technology she created. It was in the message she sent. Brilliance and integrity cannot be suppressed forever. The ghost who had been erased from Signia's records had rebooted the system entirely, not just the code, but the culture. In her quiet mountain cabin, Olivia prepared for the next chapter. The world had seen the ghost, and now she was ready to lead.